Hello and welcome to Sound Off with System One. I'm your host, Allie Hayes. I'm the Engagement and Events Marketing Manager here at System One. System One is a leading provider of specialized, highly technical outsourced services and workforce solutions to critical infrastructure, technology, life sciences, and government sectors. Founded more than 40 years ago, today System One operates in over 50 locations and at any given time has more than 9,000 active consultants on assignment working in the United States, Canada, and the UK. All right, before diving into today's topic, I do want to go through some quick introductions of our expert panel, share some fun facts with you, and then let them give a little bit of information on some hot jobs that they're recruiting for. But real quick, I do want to give a shout out to our team on the back end here. We have Kevin Johnson, one of the marketing team members. He's doing everything he can to make sure that this broadcast does run smoothly for us today. And we do have Tracy McSheffrey on the back as well. She'll be monitoring comments. So as you're joining in, please let us know where you're watching from and what industry you work in. As I said, my name is Allie Hayes. I'm the marketing manager here at System One. Quick note for you all, I have been experiencing some technical difficulties with my internet today. So if in the event I do cut out here, our team of experts is ready to keep the show rolling. So they will be ready to go with that if we do have any issues. So fun fact about myself, I did actually take this from Danielle down there from the Employee Spotlight that System One posted on her a couple weeks ago. I ran about 3 years ago a half marathon with pretty much no training at all. I think the most I had run before that was a little under 4 miles, but I did finish in just under 2 hours and 20 minutes without stopping. So I'd say it was a success without the training, but I would not recommend it to anyone. So I'll now throw it over to you, Jennifer, if you want to give an intro, share a fun fact about yourself, and then dive into a hot job for us.
Great. Thanks, Allie. Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Novojoski. I am the recruiting director of Joulé's Life Sciences recruiting team, and our team focuses on contract and contract to hire, as well as direct hire staffing for positions within the life sciences, specifically in the clinical and scientific space. I've been with Joulé for 16 years, and I'm based out of our Edison, New Jersey office. Fun fact about me, it's actually work-related. So my colleagues and I started working on scheduling monthly community service type events that we can do as a team. We really kind of mapped out something for each month for the rest of this year and going into next year. So September is actually Hunger Action Month. So yesterday, some of my coworkers and I actually went to the Community Food Bank of New Jersey, and we got to spend the afternoon volunteering there. If you haven't done something like that before, I highly recommend it. It was such a great, humbling experience, and it was really cool to see just how a food bank operates, how they service the community around them, and just to also see the different types of volunteer opportunities there are within the food bank itself. Plus, I got to spend some time with my coworkers, which was also super fun. So again, if you have a chance to do something like that, I highly recommend it. And then today, I also have a really great opportunity that I'd like to highlight that our team is currently working on. So we are working with a client that's a global biopharmaceutical company, and they're located in the central New Jersey area. This company specializes in gene and cell therapeutics. They're really looking to expand on their manufacturing operation. So they currently have several openings for skilled manufacturing technicians to support their GMP manufacturing, specifically for cell therapy products. They are looking for candidates that have a degree in the biosciences, ideally, along with GMP manufacturing, preferably with biologics from a clean room environment. And they have various levels or multiple openings that will consider various levels of experience. So the great thing is they're hiring immediately. It's a really streamlined interview and hire process. So definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. I have the job posted below. Feel free to check it out along with other jobs we have available through our Joulé division. And let's connect and make sure we put you in contact with our recruiting team.
Awesome. Thanks, Jennifer. Loved hearing about the volunteering that you and the team are doing there. It's great to give back to the community. And like you said, it is humbling, and it does feel nice to give back. So all of Jennifer's contact information and the information about her hot job is being dropped in the comments. You can follow the link there to go directly to that job, and you can search all opportunities at jobs.systemone.com. So Zach, I'll send it over to you now.
Great. Thanks, Allie. Hi, everyone. My name is Zach Shaw, and I am the Director of Talent Strategy for ALTA IT Services. We are based out of the Rockville, Maryland area, and ALTA places IT professionals in contract to hire, and direct hire information technology positions, not just in the DC area, but really all over the United States as well. So, been with the company for about 7 years, through an acquisition a couple of years ago. So it's been fantastic over that time frame. So, fun fact about me, I guess not quite as selfless as Jennifer. So Jennifer, great job there. But I actually grew up on a Christmas tree farm in central Ohio. So I think that's kind of a rare thing. So pretty happy to share that, I guess. And then the opportunity that I wanted to discuss today is actually an internal position with ALTA. We are looking to hire probably 2 to 3 business development managers for our internal staff. ALTA is having its best year sales wise ever, and we're continuing to grow the team and really looking for some fantastic people who have a passion for sales, building new relationships, going out and trying to identify needs from clients and where we might be able to help out with that. So if you know anyone, or if you are a sales-driven professional and would like to work with ALTA, please feel free to check out the job listed below. I think that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Zach. Sounds like lots of good opportunities over at ALTA. I actually worked at ALTA IT with Zach directly before moving over to the marketing team at System One. So I can certainly vouch for the group over there. It's an awesome team to work with and work for. So if you are working in sales and are looking for a new opportunity, be sure to check out Zach's job opening in the comments and connect with him on LinkedIn as well. And last but certainly not least, Danielle, let's go over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Allie. Yep, I'm Danielle. I'm a financial recruitment lead here with System One. I'm going on 5 years in the industry, and we'll be celebrating my 3rd year with System One, I think next week, actually. I'm based out of the Houston, Texas area, and a part of a team that specializes in accounting and finance placements. Not necessarily limited to those opportunities, anything kind of in the clerical space, but that's where most of our opportunities lie. Fun fact about me, I really enjoy hiking and am trying to pin down a new trail to target this fall. In Texas, we're pretty flat in Houston, but we can make our way up north and west to get some terrain that's worth hiking. But I'm looking to go out of the state. So if you have any recommendations, feel free to leave them in the chat. And as I mentioned, not only in accounting and finance space, we are actually highlighting an HR position this afternoon. So we are working with a chemical company in Friendswood, Texas. They're looking for a senior HR rep, hopefully targeting someone with 3+ years, but some flexibility with the level that the skill set of a candidate. So anywhere between, I would say 5 to 10 years is where we are kind of targeting. Client has some flexibility. Compensation between 85 and 95. So ideally looking for someone who has played in a similar industry, not a requirement, but will certainly be helpful. This role is heavily focused on supporting the payroll efforts for the on-site there, which is about 45 employees. So smaller group, but again, it's an international company. So interfacing with the HR team overseas, but locally the operations are pretty small. So kind of diverse background. Luckily, the client again has flexibility. If you've processed payroll and have an interest in getting into the HR space or have dabbled a little bit as a generalist, that will work too. The market is super tight, so clients are understanding that the more flexible they are, the wider their pool is. So if you know someone in the HR space looking for a move in the Southeast Houston area, this could be an opportunity for them. Feel free to apply or send resumes directly to me here on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thanks, Danielle. Congrats on your upcoming work anniversary. That's very exciting. As a little anniversary gift to Danielle, if anyone watching does want to drop into the comments and share some of your favorite hiking trails and sites for her, I'm sure she would appreciate that. So without further ado, let's dive into our topic for today, which is how to answer the interview question, what is your biggest strength? I know there's a lot of different ways to prep for an interview, whether it's testing your technology beforehand for something that's virtual, making sure you're dressed professionally and appropriately for the position and the company that you're interviewing with, and then preparing for some basic interview questions, whether it's tell me about yourself and your work experience, why do you want this job, what are your salary expectations, but one of the most important questions, I think, is what is your biggest strength? And that one can sometimes feel a little daunting, and you might be unsure of how to answer it correctly to where you stand out as the top candidate for that opening. So I'm going to start off with you, Jennifer, if you want to kick us off for today.
Yep, sounds good. Thanks, Allie. So yeah, you're right. This is a great question, but yeah, it can be really difficult for some people to answer it. Even myself, when I sit and think about how would I articulate what I feel is my biggest strength. When you answer this question, it's so important to come off as confident and comfortable. You have to be comfortable talking about yourself, right? And talking about your capabilities in a positive light. And some of the most gifted and talented professionals struggle with how to define that. So it's definitely a question that you want to put some thought into, especially if you're going on a job interview. We know it's something that comes up during an interview, but it also may come up if you're currently employed. If you're happily employed and you're looking to expand on your role, your own manager may come to you and say, well, what is your biggest strength? Let's work with you to help you with your career pathing. So definitely worth dedicating some time to just helping to define what you consider as your biggest strength. And then that can really help you determine how can you best support either your current organization that you're in or a potential employer. I also think that it's really important to, when you think about how to answer this, make it unique to you. I often see times when candidates list skills on their resume, such as, good communicator, good multitasker. Those are all really great things, no matter what kind of job you're applying for. But it's definitely important to make sure that you make it relevant to the job itself, make sure that it's unique, because having that and then having the backup to support that'll really make you stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, definitely. Jennifer, I really agree with some of the things that you said about, everybody does have their own, skill set, the things that they're really good at. But you got to take that and you have to apply it to the job that you're, applying for and interviewing for, right? When I hear this question, what's your biggest strength? I think there are a couple of reasons why an interviewer would ask that. And, if I was interviewing or, for any interviewee, what I would recommend is to really consider why the interviewer is asking that question. The first and most obvious, I think, is because they want to learn more about you as a person and how you may fit within the organization. But I think they're also looking for to really understand how you communicate and how you kind of explain that. So you want to make sure that you have put some planning, you have put some thought into answering this question before you walk into an interview, because they're also going to want to see how prepared you are to answer it, right? And not just what it is that you say your biggest strength is, but whatever you do say, make sure you have a couple of examples as to why those are your biggest strengths, or how you use those strengths at a previous employer. And then instead of assuming that the interviewer is going to directly relate that to the opening that you're interviewing for, go ahead and tell them why your biggest strength can help that particular organization in that particular role. Again, I don't like to assume that anybody's going to connect those dots. I want to make sure that I'm controlling that and I'm, explaining how I might fit within the organization.
Yeah, Zach, those are all really, really great points. Danielle, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah. So to complement what both of you are saying, I think the overarching theme is being unique, right? Being independent in your conversation with someone that you're interviewing with. And what came to mind for me, I think oftentimes when we're answering that question, we're thinking through soft skills. So communication, dedication, loyalty to the company, things like that, that you've experienced on the soft skills side. But another way to think through this question is, and also showing that you've prepared, is reviewing the job description in a way where you can point out the hard skills that you've had experience with. So nailing down particular things that they're looking for in a candidate, and expanding on your experience with either something technical or even a particular type of report that they're looking for, and emphasizing your experience with that through previous roles. I think another thing to keep in mind is just elaborating. As Zach indicated, they're looking at the answer, but they're also looking at the way that you're communicating your answer and reading in between the lines when you're discussing your response. So get specific, pin down opportunities where you've been able to use that skill, and it will allow for them to understand your overall skill set better.
100%. No, I totally agree with that.
Mhm.
Just to take a quick pause here. So, as Allie mentioned at the very beginning, she was having some technical difficulties. I think she is trying to iron some of that out. So we'll keep the conversation rolling. We do have a question that came in from a LinkedIn user, Yeti. The question is, why must there be 4 to 5 interviews if you like a candidate? Why not just hire them, I guess, right from the first time around? Just a general HR question. Yeti, that's a really good question. And I know that question comes up a lot with candidates. When we work with clients, and I can just speak on behalf of the division that I support, when we get a new position, and we try to find out what that process will look like from the very beginning. We ask, how many interviews will there be, who's part of the hiring decision process, so this way we can set that expectation to you, to the candidate who's applying for the job. From what I've seen, a big part of it is that, in any role, really, you're typically working with more than one person, right? You typically have a manager or a lead, somebody you work with day to day. There could be other departments that you're collaborating with. So I think the idea behind having these multiple interviews is, number one, for you as a candidate, to have that opportunity to meet who are you potentially working with on a day-to-day basis, right? But also for the client to see the dynamic, to make sure it's a good skill set fit wise. So really great question. Zach or Danielle, do you have anything to add to that?
I know I certainly do.
Perfect.
4 to 5 interviews that can be really unfortunate sometimes, because then that process can definitely drag on. And we all know it's still a candidate's market in a lot of situations, right? And if you've got one place that you're interviewing that's moving quickly and one that's going through 4 or 5 interviews, sometimes that the company that's not quite as efficient loses out on that situation. um, but on the other side of that, it's really expensive to hire the wrong person. It can really set a team back quite a bit. And as Jennifer mentioned, there are a lot of people that you're generally going to be working with, and a lot of stakeholders, and there are therefore a lot of people that you typically need to meet with during an interview process. But I certainly understand that frustration. I know I've had that frustration when we've been working with clients, and it's just taking too long and too many steps, and a lot of things can happen along that process as well. So that's just my thoughts. Danielle, I'll let you finish up with that one.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree with both of you. The first thought is empathizing. It is frustrating being a middle person in the transaction, as we are with being recruiters. We feel that frustration too. I think the other thing to keep in mind if you want to kind of change the perspective is you're interviewing the company as well. So if it's taking them 4 to 5 interviews, is that, a company that you want to be with? And then as you're interviewing, you're also meeting additional people. So continuing to get exposure to who you might be working with. But yes, it's not ideal. And as Jennifer mentioned, we try to have that timeline up front when we take on a new role, a new client. So just empathy. It's frustrating, period.
Thanks, Danielle. No, those are super great points. And Yeti, I'm glad you brought up that question. That's a really great question. There's a lot of different perspectives to that, a lot of things that go into an interview. And sometimes you could be interviewing for a job where initially it's a one-round interview, right? But then maybe the job becomes more than what it is. And then there is that need to pull in additional ones, but totally get the, potential frustration with it. But sometimes it is also necessary. So thank you for asking that question, Yeti. Danielle, you brought up a really good point, and it was actually something that I wanted to add about the topic we're talking about today, about, how to answer what's your biggest strength. You mentioned about, you're potentially as a job seeker interviewing the client as well, right, as your potential employer. Would it make sense for a candidate to ask the person who's interviewing them, what's your biggest strength as the hiring manager for your team? What's the biggest strength of the group that you're overseeing or that you're supporting or that, of the organization itself? Because Danielle, like you said, it's looking for it. The point of an interview is to make sure it's a mutual fit, right? So I think there's a professional, tactful way that a candidate can ask that of the person who is interviewing them. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I agree. And then expanding on that too, what are the strengths for someone in this role? What type of strengths are you looking for in this person? And then kind of evaluating in the conversation, but also internally, like, do I have those strengths? Am I really going to be able to be successful in this opportunity? So I certainly agree with that.
Yeah, for sure. Zach, any thoughts on that? I feel like this is, Yeti, you really set this conversation into made it expand, which is wonderful. And I think that could probably be a topic on itself, for a future episode. But Zach, is there anything additional you'd like to add?
Yeah, of course. I think that those are very legitimate questions for anyone to ask, during the interview process, right? Really understanding the person that you're going to be working for. Even if we take a step back, I typically hear that people quit their manager. They don't quit the job, right? Or they don't quit the company. They quit their manager. So really getting a good feel for who your manager is and what their leadership strengths are, and how they manage people. And if you do have multiple steps in the interview process, getting a chance to ask maybe some of their other direct reports what those strengths are as well. And then you could also look at, because when you get asked about your biggest strengths, a lot of times the next question is, well, what is your biggest weakness, right? And we as if you're interviewing, if you're the interviewee, really digging into that and what maybe some weaknesses are that you have can help you better identify maybe your strengths, or you could, if you're looking at your weaknesses, figure out a way to kind of figure out a way to make that, I guess, turn into a strength, or how that might fit well within the role. And again, the same thing can be applied when you're asking those questions of your potential manager as well. So I think that was too long of an answer, but I'll end there.
Zach, that was actually perfect. And that brings up a really good point too. I think sometimes people have a hard time saying, well, I'm not good at this, or maybe I don't know enough about this, but you put it in a way that you can put a positive spin to it. And it all boils down to how do you answer that question, right? That's going to say everything. So if you're honest and you work in your weakness as you're being asked that to your answer about being asked of what your strength is, I think that's very telling of your character, and then that will have a ripple effect throughout the interview process and even how you would fit in the organization. So all really great perspectives. I see somebody commented in the chats about looking at things from a different perspective, and that's great. That's what this is all about. That's the point of these episodes, is to talk to different people that are in the industry and going through it and interacting with LinkedIn users, right? Just to see from different perspectives of things. So, Zach and Danielle, it's been really great chatting with both of you today and hearing the different perspectives on how to answer that question about what's your biggest strength. For everybody that tuned into this broadcast today, we're glad you're here with us. If you're weathering the hurricane and dealing with the impact of the storm, we hope you're safe and okay, but we appreciate you spending time with us today. Be sure to follow us on LinkedIn. Subscribe to the YouTube channel where we share resume and interviewing tips, leadership insight, and success stories. And join us next week for another broadcast of Sound Off with System 1. We're here every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time with a different set of expert panels every week. So have a great day, be safe, and we'll see you next week.